Hey, everybody. Oh, I hope everyone is having a good day. We've got a lot we're going to talk about here today. Uh, First thing we're going to talk about is the Red Sox. So, obviously, the Red Sox have made the wild card game, and they are going to be playing against the Yankees in the wild card game at Fenway Park. So, let's think here. This is what I want to talk about with you guys quickly is how well the Red Sox played this year and um, what we should be expecting and just my overall opinion of the 2021 season. That's the first part of this video. Um, that's the first part of this video. The second thing we're going to discuss is the my predictions on what we think is the outcome of the Yankees Red Sox wild card game, and then looking ahead at the ALDS if we make it that far. So, as I had said before, the Red Sox season overall was a welcome surprise for a team that wasn't supposed to be very good. And it is a bunch of, underrated guys overperforming and overachieving to what they were supposed to do overall. So the first thing we're going to take a look at here is just, over analyzing here and taking a look at the Red Sox in general, just overall how well they played and how well they played in the first half and compared to the second half. And, they were one of the best teams in the league to start the year, and then they stumbled to a finish line that barely got them into the playoffs. So let's take a look at some of that right now. So as you can see here on the mouse, you've got Hernandez. I'm taking a look at everything here, and we're going to look at everything here. So what I've got here in yellow is who I think overachieved or played extremely well in the first half of the year. So as you can see, Bogaerts, he batted .321, 15 home runs, 27 extra base hits, and he had 51 RBIs. And then you look over at Martinez batting .301, 18 home runs, 23 doubles, 62 RBIs. Devers, 282, 22 home runs, 25 extra base hits, and 72 RBIs. Those were your three All-Stars. And rightfully so. Look how well they played in the first half of the year. And then you look at guys like Verdugo and Vasquez and Renfroe, who they didn't play extremely well. However, they definitely played well. It wasn't bad, but it was good. So it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't anything extreme. Dalbec and Kike Hernandez had tough starts to the year. He was batting .237. He only had 11 home runs, only 30 RBIs. Then look at Dalbec, .219, 10 home runs, 10 extra base hits, and 36 RBIs. And then Schwarber's stats are obviously with the Washington Nationals, batting .253, 25 home runs, 53 RBIs. He was killing it. Post All-Star break. Look at these stats here. Kike had more hits. He was having a better batting average. And, it wasn't so much power, but he had better batting average, which means he was getting on base, which gave opportunities to the guys after him like Renfroe, Bogaerts, Martinez, Devers, Dahlback, those type of guys. Now you look at Renfroe. Renfroe really kicked it up in the second half of the year. You know, more home runs, a better bat, about the same batting average, but he was driving in more runs. Renfroe has been in such a good player for them, including defensively, having a great arm. And then you look at Dahlback, went from batting 219 to 271. 5 more home runs, but he drove in more runs as well in the second half of the year. But it's the batting average that's key for everybody. The batting average is what's key. They had a better time getting on base. And then look at Schwarber, was batting 253 with the Nationals, and he was just basically home run or bust. But now he has a better batting average. He's batting 291, 18 RBIs, 7 home runs with Boston. He's killing it. The reason that the Red Sox struggled so much in the second half of the year is because of your 3 guys. The 3 guys that led the path for them to be successful really struggled. Bogaerts went from batting 321 to 255. Only drove in 28 runs compared to the 51. So he drove in half the amount of runs he did in the first half. Almost half the amount of home runs and a significantly less extra base hits. Yes, I know they had COVID, so it's a little difficult. Martinez, batting 301. Now he's batting 269. Driving in 50% less runs. Devers, not a terrible step back, but look at the runs batted in. 72, and was leading the league at the All-Star break. Down to 37. Verdugo and Vasquez and Hernandez played better in the second half. However, not enough to, obviously, the entire team's offense struggled. And unfortunately, that's what happened. So as you can see, pre-All-Star break, the team was overachieving in the batting, in the power aspect. However, they did improve their aspect in the batting area of getting on base after the All-Star break. Now let's look at the starters. Pre-All-Star break, you have Eovaldi, 9-5, 3.66 ERA, 7 quality starts. He was an all-star. No need to explain that. Pivetta, 7-4, 4.31 ERA. If it wasn't for the ERA, I thought Pivetta was a better pitcher in the first half of the year for the Red Sox than Eovaldi was. If it wasn't for the ERA, I thought Pivetta was better. And now look at Erod. This one's real simple. Erod had a tough go of it. A real tough go of it. He had to come back from not pitching all year, having a heart condition. As you can see, he was 6-5 with a 5.52 ERA. Not great for your third starting pitcher. And then, of course, Tanner Houck didn't play much the first half of the year thanks to an injury. But he didn't play well to start the year, and you had no Chris Sale. Now let's look at post-All-Star game break, right? ERA, not terrible for Eovaldi, 3.87, but he's 2-4. So again, within only he had 6 quality starts, so not terrible, right? Not the all-star level, he was pitching at, but definitely better than he was at. But definitely worse. Now let's look at Erod, 6-3 with a 3.67 ERA. So he had the best ERA. I'm not including Houck because he's in the bullpen, but best ERA of your starters, and that was huge for them in the second half. And you'll see why when you see, Erod's stats against the better AL East teams, which I'll discuss later. And now you look at Pivetta. He wasn't perfect in the first half, but he was solid enough to be a good contributing starter. But look at the quality starts in the second half. He only had 2 quality starts for Boston. He was 2-4 with a 5.0 ERA. Pivetta really dropped off that second half of the season here, and he was somebody that you needed a big moment from, which you got from him. He pitched 6 innings against New York that gave you a chance to win one of those games, and your bullpen blew it, and your offense wouldn't show up. And then yesterday or Sunday against the Nationals, he came in and saved that game. Him and Erod came in and pitched 2 scoreless innings. The Red Sox against the National, after Chris Sale and Garrett Richards gave up 5 runs, and I believe 5 innings, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it was Richards gave up 5 runs. Richards and Sale gave up 5 runs in 4 innings. And then the combination of Perez, Whitlock, Erod, and Pivetta came in and pitched in a total of 5 innings. They gave up 5 runs. And then your 4 guys, Perez, Whitlock, Erod, and Pivetta, came in and pitched 4 scoreless innings, giving up 0 hits, walking 1, and striking out 4 to clinch that victory for you. And then, of course, Tanner Houck pitched really well in the second half. And the issue with Tanner Houck is he can't get through the second half of he can't get through the batting order 3 times. Once he gets through the batting order 2 times, then he starts running into trouble, like any other rookie normally does in this time frame. Now let's look at the bullpen, right? Let's look at the bullpen. Right? The bullpen. The bullpen was great to start the year. Look at Matt Barnes. He was an all-star. He had an ERA of 2.61. He only gave up 4 home runs. He had opponents batting 174. He had 3 blown saves in the entire first half of the All-Star break, in the first half of the season, and he had 19 saves, which was great. Ottavino, 258 batting average. He had given up 0 home runs in the first half of the year. He had opponents batting 206. He had 15 holds, leading to saves for Barnes, and he had 7 saves himself. However, they both blew 3 saves to start before the All-Star break. And then look at Whitlock. ERA 144. Opponents were batting 228. He had 1 save, 8 holds, 1 blown save, and he only gave up 4 home runs. Look at that bullpen, right? Look at that bullpen. Obviously, the bullpen. Josh Taylor, the lefty specialist, was insane. 3.86 ERA. He had 13 holds. He had 1 blown save. He only gave up 1 home run, and he had opponents batting 256. Well done. Sawamura. Opponents batting 245, 7 home runs. He had opponents batting 199. He had 6 holds. That was great. That was your main bullpen guys. Those were your five guys that you used. Barnes, Ottavino, Sawamura, Whitlock, and Taylor. Those were your 5 main guys. Perez eventually moved to the bullpen first. Obviously, he has a 4.04 ERA. It gave up 11 home runs. However, opponents were only batting 287 against him. And he had, wasn't terrible. Richards, on the other hand, struggled a lot after the Pine Tar thing. Had almost a 5.0 ERA, and, opponents were batting 300 against him. And now let's look at your deadline acquisitions in the bullpen. You acquired Robles, who had an ERA of 4.91, gave up 6 home runs. He had 10 saves, 2 blown saves, 14 holds, and he had opponents batting 231. So in Minnesota, they had no idea what they were doing with Robles. They were using him in all over the place. Davis also didn't pitch much in Pittsburgh, but as you could see, he gave up a lot of runs. He had a 5.59 ERA. He gave up 2 home runs, but opponents were only batting 167 against him. And he had 2 holds and only 1 blown save for Pittsburgh. Your bullpen, everybody on the Boston Red Sox had overachieved and overperformed before the All-Star break. It came tumbling down post All-Star game break. Matt Barnes went from having a 2.61 ERA to a 648. He gave up the same amount of home runs, but opponents went from batting 174 against him to 269. And he had only 5 saves, and he blew 3 saves on top of that. And I can tell you right now, from what I remember, is that Matt Barnes blew 3 straight saves coming out of that All-Star game break. And that was atrocious. Ottavino, 0 home runs in the first half, has given up 5 in the second half. A 6.48 ERA, opponents batting 287. He has 3 blown saves, just like Barnes. However, he does have 4 saves and 7 holds. But look at that, Sawamura, opponents batting 245 against them. Nope, opponents were batting 199. Now they're batting almost an entire 100 points more, 293 against him. He has a 4.91 ERA. He gave up less home runs, and, he blew 2 saves. Now, let's look at the guys who have really stepped up in the second half for the Red Sox bullpen. Garrett Richards. The ERA isn't great, right? 4.29, opponents batting. But look, opponents went from batting. He had an ERA of 4.91, right? Now it's down to 4.29 in the second half. He gave up 8 home runs, so just as much as, he did as a starter. But look at the opponent's batting average. Went from batting 300 to 260, so a full 40 points less. He had 2 holds, 3 saves, and 0 blown saves. Richards moved to the bullpen while it blew up in their faces, giving up 3 runs against the Nationals yesterday on Sunday. It has worked out pretty well for them in the second half. Robles had an ERA of almost 5. Now it's 3.60. 3.60. He's only given up 2 home runs. His opponents were batting 231. Now they're batting 223. He has 4 saves, 3 holds, and he doesn't have a blown save. Robles looks like a steal for the Red Sox. Whitlock. Opponents were batting 144. The ERA went up a little bit, 283. He only gave up 2 home runs, though. Opponents are batting 245 against him in the second half, which isn't terrible. He has 6 holds, a save, but he also blew 2 saves. But Whitlock has been a consistent player and a consistent good thing for the Red Sox. Josh Taylor. Opponents were batting 386 against him, and now they're batting 259. He only gave up, 1 home run. He's only given up 2 home runs all year. I know he's injured right now, but opponents were batting 257, 227, with 2 holds and a save. Josh Taylor stepped up in the need in the second half for the Red Sox. And I know Ryan Brazier has only been back for about 2 or 3 weeks, but he has a 1.50 ERA. With opponents batting 267, he has 3 holds, and he does have a blown save. But Brazier has looked absolutely phenomenal for the Red Sox since coming back. And Perez, he has only pitched really in games that, other than the game against the Nationals on Sunday, he pitched in games where the Red Sox were blowing out teams. He has a 7.0 ERA, 8 home runs, opponents batting 380, 328. He has 1 hold. He didn't blow a save. He didn't get a save. Austin Davis has blown 2 saves for us, but, opponents are batting 273 against him, and his ERA has gone down significantly. So Davis has stepped up a lot for the Red Sox as well. Now, I just want to give you my opinion on, how I feel the Red Sox did this year, just in general. The Red Sox, they had a tough year. They had a really good year, and then they dropped off. And you know what? That's okay. They have a big matchup coming up against the Yankees. And we'll go over that. I'll go over that, but they the Red Sox played really well, and I think if they can win the wild card game, I think they should. I think they're better than the Yankees, and they had been all year. They should win that wild card game. Fans should be upset if they don't. I know they're overachieving, but you can change your opinion on that and everything as the season goes on. 91 wins was nothing close to what the Red Sox should have done. They should have been chilling with the Orioles. They should have been a bottom 10 team this year. Or that was what the expectation was. Because they didn't make a lot of improvements, they made some small ones that really improved the team. So making the playoffs is gravy, is great. Extra for us. For the beginning expectations. But for the way they played all year, they should have been the winner of the division. They stumbled real hard at the end of July and August. September, they kicked it up. They almost stumbled themselves out of the playoffs thanks to that 3-game series against the Yankees and not winning at least 2 out of 3 against the Orioles. Losing 1 game against the Orioles almost sunk them after that 3-game series. Only winning 1 game against the Orioles almost sunk them. Thankfully, they swept the Nationals, and the Yankees lost 2 out of 3 to Tampa. That's the only saving grace here. And I think Red Sox fans should be happy. I'm happy. And listen, they got a wild card game. Win or go home, 1 game. Your best guys on the field, Eovaldi. And I'll go over, it's going to be a big game. And I'll give you my predictions at some point. But it was huge. That's just a breakdown for how the Red Sox season went. My MVP for the Red Sox, or my MVP, Rafael Devers. Cy Young, Eovaldi. Rookie of the Year, Garrett Whitlock. Surprise of the Year, Hunter Renfroe. Disappointment of the Year, JD Martinez. He is a 40 home run guy. He's struggled a lot this year. He struck out a lot, and unfortunately, he had really disappointed me. Unfortunately. And those are my, little awards for the Red Sox. In a future video, I will give you guys, my opinion on who they should bring back, who they should target, that type of stuff. That's not this time right now, but this is just a little review of, pre-All-Star break, post-All-Star break, and what happened, and why they are in the situation they're in instead of winning the division.